All right. So we're getting right into some Sunday challenges. Sunday challenges. This will be definitely fun. A nice refresher on basically continuing to learn JavaScript. All right. And so what I'm seeing is that basically doing these different challenges, they help kind of solidify a lot of different things. Also help me learn different concepts as well. So this will definitely be fun. I started so far. Let's see where I've started here. This is off of freeCodeCamp, but they pretty much help you do challenges pretty much on different languages, okay? And since we've been focusing on building websites, apps, things like that, I definitely want to continue learning JavaScript, all right? So let's take a look. Let's see what we have here. This is where we last left off here. So we started using the pop and the push methods here. And we're gonna keep continuing this thing. Let's take a look here, see how far we can get. All right, so let's see what we left off here. So here, on the console, push the turn array. Go ahead and get rid of these here. I'm gonna get rid of the pop and the push here. So basically, should not have a and a push call. So basically all of it here. Now, if you don't know about this, freeCodeCamp, man, definitely a great free platform where you could get to learning, man. I mean, this is really, really good, very helpful, actually. All right. And here we go. All right, so change your role declaration to be assigned to an empty array. All right, so we're gonna get rid of all of this. All right, also change your hello string to use double quotations again. All right, so we're gonna just redo this. But we'll want to. Okay. All right. So we passed that portion of the challenge. Let's continue. All right. All right. Declaring a variable with the let keyword allows it to be reassigned. This means you could change character. Okay. So I can basically change it up. Okay. To a different value. For this project, you will not want to change these variables. So instead, you should use const to declare them. And of course, the const that makes it to where you can't change those variable values, okay? So first, a const variable cannot be reassigned like a let variable. This code could throw an error, okay? Right. Okay. So now let's replace the let keywords to const, all right? And we're gonna change all of these. And what started me going down this path basically of learning different coding language actually is, of course, I'd use AI, okay? Now with the help of AI, I've been able to learn a lot, okay? And anybody can, right? Anybody can learn so much from AI, right? Especially if you prompt it right. But I've actually prompted AI to teach me coding languages, right? And then give me other ways so I can solidify those different languages inside my head, okay? So that's the key, right? And I do these streams so I can continuously practice, making sure that we continue learning, man. And it's actually a fun thing, man. Very useful actually as well. So let's take a look here. You are now ready to start building your pyramid generator. Your character variable will serve as your building block for the pyramid. Hello might not work. Change the value of character to a hashtag. Okay. There we go. Alright, so to generate a pyramid, you will need to complete multiple rows. Alright, that's perfect. And when you have have to perform a task repeatedly using a condition is met, you will use a loop. Okay. And there are many loops, of course. You have the for loop or the while, things like that. So you are going to start with the basic for loop. For loops, you use the following syntax. So it'll be for, iterator, condition, iteration. All right. And in the upcoming steps, you will explore your component of a loop in details. For now, construct a for loop that includes the term iterator, conditions, and iterations for the 3 components, and then keep the loop body. All right, and then we'll keep the actual logic empty. Okay, so that's perfect. So here we go. So for, and then we're going to go iterator and semicolon, condition, semicolon, and iteration, and then the logic, right? All right, let's see here. Sorry, the first component of your for loop should be in a string. Oh, all of them should be strings. Okay. I wonder here. All right, what's going on here? So maybe just the first one. Oh, there we go. All right, so now let's continue learning about the for loop. Okay, now your loops now need a proper iterator. All right, the iterator is a variable you could declare, okay, specifically in your for loop to control how the loop iterates or goes through the logic. Okay. That is a common convention to use I as the iterator variable in a loop. A for loop allows you to declare this in the parentheses. Okay. Now, for example, here in a for loop that declares an index variable and assigns it to value 100. Okay. So now we're going to replace the iterator with a let declaration. All right, for I, okay. Assign it to the value 0 to start, and this will give the I variable the value of 0 the first time for basically the first time the loop runs. Okay, so let's get here. So we're gonna go let. All right. So let's go to the next one. So basically you got the iterator is complete, right? This is where you actually declare the variable, right? Declare the actual variable here. Now the condition of the for loop tells the loop how many times it should iterate when the condition becomes false, right? So the loop will stop. So in JavaScript, a Boolean value can be either true or false. These are not strings. You will learn more about these later here. All right, so for now, you will use the less than operator. And this allows you to check if the value of the left is less than the value on the right. For example, count less than 3 would evaluate to true if count is 2 and false if the value is 4. So now we're going to replace the condition string with a condition to check if I is less than the count. All right. So now for the condition, less than count. All right. All right, so now it's time for the iteration. Now your iteration statement will tell your loop what to do with the iterator after each run, okay? So usually it's going up in value or going down in value, something like that, right? And then it'll run the actual logic until these conditions are met. Now, so when you reassign a variable, you could use the variable of reference to reference the previous value before the reassignment. Now this allows you to do things like add 3 to an existing number. For example, b equals b plus 3 would increase the value of b's by 3. Now, so use the syntax, or use that syntax to replace the iteration string with a reassignment statement that increases I by 1. Okay. Now I wonder if you can do I plus plus. No. Oh, okay. I wonder if you would have to do it this way. Well, usually I plus plus. So let me see. I. Alright, so I guess you can't do it that way. Alright. So this is basically declaring a variable. This is pretty much the condition, right? So while this condition meets, and then what to do after the running of the logic, okay? All right, so now here your loop should now run 8 times. Inside the body of the loop, print the value of I and see what happens. Okay. Your loop should run here. So basically we want to console log do it that way here. Okay, that was perfect. So basically this logic works perfectly. All right. And just a simple, always console.log, that's always like a simple, kind of like a testing or just something to see that the flow is working. All right, so that's telling me the flow is definitely working here. You can see it's run 8 times. Of course, 0 is the first index there. Up to 8, and then it stops that condition. All right, so let's continue here. All right, so you should see the number 0 through 7 printed in the console, 1 per line. Okay, so this will serve as the foundation of generating your pyramid. Replace the log statement with a statement to push I to your rows array. All right. So now we want to push the I to the rows array. All right. So now I forgot how to do the push now. All right. So I'm thinking we'll do rows. Dot push, and here that's saying that's not right. Or maybe rows. Okay, there we go. All right, so what is that saying? So basically, like I said, this is 8 count basically. While that is less than, or I is less than 8. All right, so as long as it's less than 8, it's gonna push those push that into the array. Okay, so that's perfect. Perfect. All right, let's go to the next challenge here. Now, unfortunately, now you cannot see what your loop is doing. So use a let to declare a results variable and assign it to an empty string. And empty string is represented by quotations with nothing. Okay, that's perfect. So let results equals, there we go. And doing these challenges, they help, like I mentioned, they help solidify the language, right? It helps solidify the syntax, different methods and functions, things like that. And it also teaches me different things I have not used, right? All right, so add a log statement to print the value of results. Depending on what console you use, you may not see anything printed. All right, so console.log, and then we're gonna put result in here. All right, let's go to the next one. All right, now to manipulate the result string, which since we can with the let, that's perfect. You will use a different type of loop, specifically a for of loop. Okay, that's something new. Which iterates over in each item in an iterable object and temporarily assigns it to a variable. Okay, I understand that. Now the syntax of a for of loop looks like, so we have for, and then the variable would be const value of iterable, and then the logic. Note that you can use const because the variable only exists for a single iteration, not during the entire loop. Okay. Create a for of loop to iterate through your rows array, assigning each value to a row variable. Okay. Now let's see exactly how we'll do that. Here, then we're gonna go const, and we want to assign that to a row of rows. That may not be right. I believe here. Yeah, that's right. That's right. No, it's not. Oh. All right. Okay, we're getting somewhere. So this is new here. I haven't used any the for loop like this. All right. So now we're learning that as well. So that's perfect. All right. So I'm used to this for loop. This is the one we've been using. Now we're learning the for of loop. So this is perfect. So remember in the previous loops that used the addition operator plus to increase the value of I by 1. Now you could do a similar thing with a string value. Okay, by appending a new string to an existing string. For example, hello equals hello plus world. Okay, would add the string world to the existing string stored in hello. This is called concatenation. Okay, in your for of loop, use the addition operator to concatenate row value to the results value. All right. To the results. So, how we do this? I'm thinking here we're gonna have results. Would that be right? Results. Yeah, that gotta be. Or result. There we go. Equals, and then we're gonna do result, and then concatenation here. And what I want to do it that way, let's see. plus row. Concatenate the row value to the result value. Okay. So basically the result to the, let's just see. I wouldn't think it would do this. Let me see. I wouldn't think that'll be right. Oh, that is right. That was right. Okay. Yeah, this is okay. I understand the two variables, right? Let me see here. And this is an empty string here, so we're basically concatenating the array. Ah, okay. I see where I'm tripping. I'm still kind of off on that one. To row. Okay, we got that. Both rows. I'm gonna see. We're gonna keep going on there. All right. So now all of your numbers are appearing on the same line. All right. This will not work for creating a pyramid, of course. All right. So you need to add a new line to each row. However, pressing the return key to insert a new line break between quotes in JavaScript will result in a parsing error. Instead, you need to use the special escape sequence. All right, which is okay. Okay, use a second addition operator to append a new line after result and row values. So I'm guessing here afterwards, let me see, would that go after the fact? Use a second addition operator. All right, let's just see. Use a second addition operator. Would I just add it in here? Let's just see. And then here. Nope. I don't think that's right neither. You should concatenate your row variable to the results variable. Okay, so this is obviously wrong. Huh. I may be stuck on this one here. Let me see. I see the way they have this, but why would they show it to me this way and then want it a different way? All right. Use a second addition operator to append a new line after the result and row. Okay. So maybe like this. Okay. So basically it was the ordering of it, right? So after each row, it'll basically do a line break. Bam, bam, bam. Okay. All right, and that part kind of tripped me up, I ain't gonna lie. All right, now printing numbers won't result in a visually appealing pyramid. Now that you're outputting the format context of the rows array, it's time to update the original loop. Instead of pushing I to the array, push the value of your character variable. Okay. So I'm guessing here, inside of here, we'll do character. You should push your character variable, which I am, I thought. Let's see. Print numbers. Okay, so what do we have here? We're pushing that into the rows. Alright, we know that you should no longer push your saying push the character here. So that logic should be here. Okay. Alright. So now we're getting somewhere. Alright, let's get to the next one here. Alright. Alright, so now you have a series of hashtag characters, but the pyramid shape is still missing. Fortunately, the I variable represents the current row. Alright. Number in your loop, enabling you to use it to craft a pyramid-like structure. Alright, so to achieve this now, you will use the repeat method available to strings. Okay, so this method accepts a number as an argument, which I'm guessing is going to be the I variable. Okay, and specifically the number of times to repeat the target string. So for example, using repeat here to generate the string code. Okay, so basically you'll attach it basically to a string. Okay, so now use the repeat method on your character and give it I for the number. Okay, that's perfect. So I can do that. So let's go here, dot repeat, and then we're gonna insert I. Okay, we're getting somewhere. All right, so you're getting closer. At this point, you're encountering what's known as an off by one error, a frequent problem in zero-based indexing, like language. Okay, like JavaScript. Okay, that's nothing. So the first index of the row is 0, which is why you start your loop, your for loop, with I equals 0. Now by repeating a string 0 times, results in nothing print basically. So to fix this, add 1 to the value of I in your repeat call. Do not assign it to I like you did in the loop condition. So here, so maybe like this here. Okay. You should add 1 to I. Okay. All right, that's perfect. So now it's giving us 1 basically from not 0. Okay. All right, so the logic for formatting the pyramid is likely going to get complicated. All right, which means it's a great time to extract the code into a function. A function is a block of code that can be reused through your application. Functions are declared with the following syntax. All right. So of course you will have the function keyword, then the name of the actual function with the parameter, and then the logic here. That's perfect. So the function keyword tells JavaScript that the name variable is going to be a function. All right. Now parameter is the variable that represents a value that is passed into the function when it is used. And then a function may have as many or as few parameters as you like. Like a for loop, the space between the curly braces is the function body. All right. So declare a pad row function. Do not create any parameter variables yet. Function body should be empty. Remember that you need to use camel case for the naming. Okay. All right. So we're gonna go function. Then we're gonna go pad row. Alright, so now we have that function ready to be built. Okay. Now, in order to use a function, you need to call it. A function call tells the application to run the code from the function wherever you choose to call it. The syntax for a function call is the function name followed by the parentheses. For example, this code defines and calls a test function. So now we're going to call our pad row. Okay. So pad row. Alright, now you are calling your pad row function, but not doing anything with that function call. Alright, that's okay. All functions in JavaScript return a value, meaning they provide the defined result of calling them for you to use elsewhere. Alright. So to see the results of the pad row function, declare a call variable and assign your existing row call or pad row call to that variable. Okay, so here we're gonna go and say here. All right, so we need a const. They want to do a const. Let's do it here. All right. All right, let's get back to it. So we're just continuing our coding challenges here, JavaScript coding challenges as we code and learn. So now what we're doing here, we're continuing with the for and of statement. All right. So now add a log statement to print the value. There we go. So we're going to print the value of your call variable. All right. That's easy. So that log, and then we're going to go here and there. All right. Sorry, your code does not pass. Try again. You should log your call variable. Don't forget the semicolon. What are they talking about? I know they're not saying here. Wow. Okay. All right. So now your call variable has an undefined value. Okay. Even though you defined it, this is because your pad.row function does not currently return a value, and by default functions return undefined as their value. Okay. So in order to return something else, you need to use the return keyword. Okay. And here's an example of the function that returns the string. Functions are cool. Okay. So use the return keyword to return to have your function return the string hello. Okay. Simple enough. So we're just gonna go here. What? Oh. All right. Let's continue. Okay. So when you have a value that is explicitly written in your code, like the hello string in your function, it is considered to be hard-coded. Hard-coding a value inside a function might not make it as reusable as you'd like. Okay. So instead, you can define parameters for the function. Parameters are special variables that are given a value when you call the function, and can be used in your function by dynamically changing the result of the function's code. Okay. All right. Okay, parameters are okay here. Now to add a parameter to your function, you need to add a variable name inside the parentheses. For example, demo function has a name parameter. Okay. Name sounds like a useful parameter, so go ahead and add it to your. Name here. All right, let's continue. Now, function does not have a return. A function does not have a return. Does not have to return a hard-coded value. Okay. It can return the value stored in a variable. All right, parameters are special variables for a function, so they can also be returned. So change your pad row function to return the name parameter directly. All right. All right, so let's go here. All right. So if you open your console again, you'll see the pad row function is returning undefined, even though you defined it a return value. Oh, why would that be? Oh, maybe because nothing's in it. Alright. This because parameter needs to be given a value when you call the function. So when you pass a value to a function, that value is referred to as an argument. Here's an example of calling a demo function and passing Naomi as an argument to the name parameter. Okay. All right. So pass your own name to the argument. All right, so let's continue our challenges here. Okay. All right, so pass your own name as an argument. Okay. In the pass room, remember that the name is a string, so you'll need to use quotes. Okay. And I wonder if we should do it this way. Okay, we just pass it in here. Okay. All right, now before moving on, take a moment to review how functions work. Now declare a function name called add2numbers. All right. Add two numbers. This function should take 2 arguments and return the sum of those 2. Okay, your function should not use hard-coded values. An example of a hard-coded function. Okay, so we don't want to do a hard code. All right, here we go. So this function would return John Doe regardless of the arguments. Okay, passed to the parameters. Okay, that's why, because it's hard coded here. Okay, so we don't want to do that. So let's go ahead here. We're gonna declare a variable. I'm gonna go, I don't know if they want const some variable and assign it to, we're gonna assign it the value of calling your add2 numbers. Okay, so we're gonna go add 2 numbers function. And I don't, that's crazy because I don't even have a function. They want me to do the variables before. All right, function with 2 arguments. Okay, so we're gonna go 5 and 10. All right, you should have, oh, okay. Okay, this is why, all right. So we're gonna go function, and then we're gonna go add 2 numbers. And then here we're gonna go to there. I wonder if I can do it like this here. All right. Sorry, your code did not pass. Your function should return the sum. Okay. So I'm gonna go return. All right, now we should log our sum. Okay. All right. Now, with that quick review complete, you should remove your add2 functions, function, sum, variable, and log. Okay, so we want to remove everything here and continue here. Now remember what we're doing, we're building out a pyramid. So this is teaching us a lot of different functions, the for, of as well, and the for looping as well. So variables in JavaScript are available in a specific scope. In other words, where a variable is declared determines where in your code it can be used. Okay. So the first scope is the global scope. Variables that are declared outside any blocks like a function or for loop are in a global scope. Now your character and count and rows are variables are all in the global scope. All right. Now when a variable is in the scope, or in the global scope, a function can access it in its definition. All right, here's an example of function using global title variable. Okay, title here, all right, name plus okay. All right, so now this example will return Professor Naomi. All right. Okay, so now we're going to update the pad row function to return the value of concatenating your character variable to the beginning of the name variable. Okay, so does that mean something like this? All right. All right, so variables can also be declared inside a function. Now, these variables are considered to be in the local scope or block scope. All right, so a variable declared inside a function can only be used inside that function. So that's very important, basically the scope. Now, if you try to access it outside the function, of course, you're going to get a reference error. Now, to see this in action, use const to declare a test variable in the pad row function. All right. So we're going to do that here. Const. And we're going to go test. And we're going to initialize it to testing. Alright, so values returned out of a function are used by calling the function. Alright. So you can use the function called directly as the value it returns or capture the returned value in a variable. This way you can use the value assigned to a local scoped variable outside the function if or it was called in. Here's an example here. So basically in a scope here, and then if you start to use that outside, you could log it here, you could capture that value inside of this variable, and then here, okay, that makes perfect sense. All right, so to use your testing value, return it out of the pad row function by updating the return statement to return only the test value. All right. So below the return statement, log the string this works. All right. Works does not display in the console. Okay, let's see. Because it's already returned basically. All right. Here, okay. An important thing to know about the return keyword is that it does not just define a value to be returned from your function, it also stops the execution of the code inside a function or block statement. This means any code after return statement will not run. All right, that makes sense. So let's see. So now we're gonna go here, we're gonna put it the right way. So basically the return breaks out of the function. It stops the function. All right, so of course we want to put everything before that. Okay. What? Your first console log should come after your return keyword. That's exactly what I did, and then it told me I was wrong. I'll put it here. I wonder why is it if it's telling me it's not going to work. Oh, maybe. Unless it wants two of them. Did I misread something here? Alright, great. I'll copy the, okay. Alright, I see what's going on. Alright, so it wants to see both basically. So basically this won't run. This will run. Okay. Okay. All right, so now your call variable has the value testing. All right, perfect. But the function is no longer using the name parameter. Remove the name parameter from the function declaration, then remove camper chain string from this. Where is that at? Okay. All right, so basically here we want to remove these two. Also remove both console logs. Okay. Alright, I'm gonna move those. Alright, let's continue, baby. Alright, now because your function was no longer using the parameter, changing the argument did not affect it. Alright, that makes sense. So go ahead and remove the test declaration and return statement from your function. Here we go. And the whole idea, the whole point of doing these different things, the challenges, is to continue to solidify what I've learned. Okay, so I like to take these days to just kind of go back on what I've learned, a lot of the concepts, even the basic concepts, just so we can continue to build upon those ideas, but to also help us move forward, right? So you have to know the basics, and then you can start getting into your more advanced things, and then more advanced frameworks, right? So every framework builds on JavaScript. So without JavaScript and the knowledge of basic JavaScript, right, it kind of makes no sense to start moving on to like Vue and Angular, React, Next.js, things like that, right? All right, so let's continue now. Because your function here, I believe we just did this here. There we go. All right. And then these same simple practice things, exercises as well, you will start seeing this is exactly what we use when we're building out SaaS, you know, different software, different mobile apps, right? You'll start seeing these basic concepts in larger forms, right? And that's how you start to build. But then you'll start seeing that it's all these same simple building blocks. That's what I'm seeing, right? It's the same simple building blocks, and it's really the same amongst different languages, right? It's some solid concepts that you really want to get, and then transfer those same concepts into pretty much any language you want to learn, right? Whether it's Python, JavaScript, Node, things like that, and you'll be able to build upon those things using those same foundations like variables or functions, things like that, right? So that's what we're doing. We're just continuously learning. Then we're going to be building some things out pretty much later on. As expected, your function now returns undefined again. Your call variable is not necessary anymore, so remove the call declaration and the console log for the call variable. So pretty much all of this. There we go. All right. Now, in order to know how to format a row, right, your pad row function will need to know which row you are on and how many rows in total are being generated. All right. So the best way to do this is by creating function parameters for them. So give your pad row function a row number and a row count parameter. Multiple parameters are separated simply by adding a comma. Okay, so let's go here. We're gonna go row number, of course all camel case, and then we're gonna go row count. All right. Let's see here. So remember, in the earlier steps you learned about return values. Okay, a function can return a value for your application to consume separately. Now in a function, the return keyword is used to specify a return value. For example, this function will return the value given to the first parameter. Okay, as you can see here, it's going to basically return whatever it's put in there. All right. So use the return keyword to return the value of the character variable repeated a row times. Okay, how the hell? So what I'm thinking, so we're gonna go return and character. And then we're gonna go dot repeat. There we go. And then we're gonna go row count. Or is that right? Let me see. Wait a minute. Use the return keyword to return the value of the character repeated. Yeah. The row number. All right. All right, so if they're perfect. So now we're going to continuously build on that. All right. So a function call allows you to actually use a function. All right, you may not have been aware of it, but the method like push that you have been using have been function calls. A function is called by referencing the function's name and adding the parentheses. So here's how to call a test function. All right. All right. So we get that. Now what we're gonna do, we're gonna replace the character repeat to in the push call. Okay. With a function call for your pad row functions. Do not add any arguments to it yet. All right. So basically using a function as the parameters or arguments inside of a function here. So what we want to do here, we're going to go pad row. Okay. All right, so now your pad row function has two parameters which you define. Now values are provided to those parameters when a function is called. All right, the values you provide to a function call are referred to as arguments. All right, and you pass arguments to a function call. Here's a function call with hello passed as an argument. All right, so we get that. So now what we're gonna do, we're gonna add, we're gonna pass the I+1 and count as the arguments to pad row. All right. Just like parameters, arguments are separated by commas. All right. All right, so let's add that in here. So we're gonna go I plus 1, and then we're gonna go count. All right, and the count, of course, is here. Okay. All right. And like I mentioned, doing these helps solidify concepts, right? They help you solidify the different concepts, different methods, using functions, declaring variables, things like that. It helps solidify these basic concepts, which is very helpful. Very helpful, especially when you're moving into different frameworks, right? And you're really expounding upon using JavaScript. All right, so now let's continue. You should now see the same bunch of characters in your console. All right. All right. Your pad row function is doing the exact same thing you were doing earlier, but now it's in a reusable section of its own. All right, that's perfect. All right, use the addition operator to concatenate a single space to the beginning and end of your repeated character. Okay. Remember that you can use the plus operator to concatenate strings like, okay. How the hell would I do that? Let me see. Character repeat. So what I'm thinking here, this will be interesting. All right, so we're gonna go there. And then here. This may not work, but we're gonna see. Oh, that was it. All right, so we added it to the beginning and the end. That's perfect. Okay, let's continue. All right, now it's time for a bit of math. All right, consider a 3-row pyramid, right? If we want it centered, it would look like this. All right. So empty spaces here have been replaced with interpuncts or middle dots, okay, for readability. So if you extrapolate the pattern, you can see that the spaces at the beginning and end. So update the blank space strings to be repeated. Row count minus row number. Ooh, now that's something. All right, so let's go ahead and do that. Open up the console to see the result. So what I do? Would I just do it like this? Row count minus. This is getting crazy now. And then on this side, let's see. Oh, that is so wrong. Alright, you should call repeat on your string to repeat them. Oh, okay. Okay. So basically, damn, I wonder, because that's going to be a hell of a statement, right? And then doing something like this. And then the same down here. And then it seems wrong, but we're gonna see. Repeat. Yeah, I definitely don't think. Oh, okay, we're getting somewhere, but I'm sure that's not right. Oh, that is right. What? So what we're doing is returning, then adding a space basically, but it's only showing this way. But it says it's right. All right. So the row count minus row number, right? So let's see exactly how we're getting all of that. Yeah, that's really good there. So we know the repeat could go on a string to basically repeat this. This is coming out to a number, of course, right? So this is basically setting up the function. All right, we're getting somewhere. Yeah, I'm gonna do a few more of these, but they get your brain working, man. Like, especially for me, I'm learning all the different languages, JavaScript, HTML, CSS, things like that, before we move on to frameworks, different frameworks like React, building mobile apps, right? Vue, Angular, Next. But you want to get these basic things down, right? You want to, I mean, you really do. You really want to get these down. All right, so now you could pass full expressions as an argument. All right. For example, these two function calls below would yield the same result. Note the order. Okay. All right. Parentheses, exponents, multiplication, division, addition, subtraction. All right, so look at this again here. Update the character value to be repeated 2 times the row minus 1. Update the character value to repeat 2 times. All right, so we're gonna go 2. All right, and then minus 1. And oh, look at that, minus 1. And we have finally built our pyramid. And honestly, I'm not gonna lie, I still, though I built it, I still kind of don't understand what the hell. All right, it's definitely spaces here. But it's pretty much the math beside what's adding the spaces, right? And how to center it. Minus 1, okay. And then more space, all right. Yeah, that was interesting. That was really, really interesting. How many pyramids are we building? All right, let's continue here. Yeah, that was crazy. All right, so your pyramid generation now functions as expected, but this is an excellent opportunity to further explore the code you have written. All right, the addition operator is not the only way to add values to a variable. The addition assignment operator can be used as shorthand to mean take the original value of the variable, add this value, and assign the result back to the variable. All right. So for example, these two would yield the same result. Plus equals 1. All right. So update your iteration statement in for loop to use addition assignment. So basically this here. All right, so I plus equals 1. Oh. All right. So now we're cleaning up code basically. There we go. Now because you are only increasing I by 1, you can use the increment operator, the plus plus. All right, so we got the plus plus we're going to start adding. All right, update the assignment. For example, test would become 8. All right, now replace the addition assignment with the increment operator. All right, so just plus plus now. So further cleaning up code. Plus plus does the exact same thing. So we've shorthanded that and shortened it twice actually from that original way. That's perfect. And you want to learn these basics, right? You want to learn, that's what I'm learning, right? You want to learn how these basic things work, because AI, of course, can literally put everything together for you, right? But when it's something breaks or you need to add a feature and things like that, or AI doesn't give you the correct code, right? You don't even know what you're looking at, right? And that's exactly why I started to learn, right? I literally started to learn so I could prompt better and understand what was going on behind what was being generated, right? So taking these times to practice, to learn, right? The syntax, basically how things work behind the code, behind the scenes, behind what you see, man, it'll definitely pay you over and over and over. I mean, very valuable. All right, so here we go. Let's continue these things here. All right, so rather than having to pass I plus 1 to pad roll call, you would instead start your loop at 1. All right, and this would allow you to create a 1 index loop. Update your iteration to start at 1 instead of 0. All right. There we go. All right, now the pyramid looks a little funny now because you're starting the loop from 1 instead of 0. All right, so you don't need to add 1 to I when you pass it to the row. So basically we're probably going to just delete this right here. Update the first argument of your pad roll call to be I. Oh, I messed that up, didn't I? Here plus plus again, and you should not pass. Okay, here we go. So we want to just pass I. There we go. All right, so unfortunately now the bottom of the pyramid has disappeared. This is because you have created another off by 1 error. All right, so your original loop with the I value from 0 to 7, because count is 8 and your condition requires I to be less than count, your loop is now running for I values from 1 to 7. So your loop needs to be updated, okay, to run. All right, that's okay. So your loop is now running. Okay, your loop needs to be updated. Looking at your logic, this means your loop should run when I is less than or equal to count. All right. So less than or equal to. Uh-oh. Here we go. Perfect. All right, let's continue here. Comments can be helpful, okay, for explaining why your code takes a certain approach or leaving to-do notes for your future self, right? So in JavaScript, you can use / okay to leave a single line comment. So now we're going to add a single line comment above the for loop to remind yourself to change the code to a different kind of loop. All right, change code. Let's continue. All right, so JavaScript also has support for multi-line comments. All right, unlike a single line comment. Okay, so use to turn your current for loop, including the body, into a multi-line comment. All right, perfect. We can do that, no problem here. Right. So like I mentioned, doing these different challenges, they help solidify what we have learned, right? It starts to use a lot of the basic syntax things that we've learned, the for loops, if statements, if else. It just helps you learn and solidify, right? And if you're doing if you're just using AI to code, right? What happens if you need to add something, right? Or if something breaks? Daily. And we stream roughly about 1 or 2 hours a day, right? I try to do these daily, right? Whether it's either coding up a new project or I'm just learning, right? So we pretty much are learning in public, and it's really been fun, very helpful. And if you like these type of things, if you like this type of content, definitely be sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, because we do these daily, pretty much documenting our learning journey as we're learning to code using AI tools like ChatGPT, or whether it's Claude, things like that. And when it comes to coding, I'm gonna tell you hands down, Claude, that's been one of the best tools I've been able to invest in. All right, definitely a helpful tool. And I'll be doing things throughout the week, actually, where I'm coding up different projects I think of or come up with, where we're using Claude hand in hand and using the things that we're learning here. To pretty much code different SaaSes or websites, mobile apps, things like that. But it's been a crazy fun journey, man. What started me down this path of learning, just by the way, man, it actually started with me just wanting to prompt better. I just wanted to prompt better, be able to prompt AI to do different things, or I was seeing different things I didn't even know what they were called, or using databases or APIs, things like that, how to set them up, and getting into different frameworks. I wanted to learn how to do these different things. And so I've been started with HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, and literally just going through daily, whether it's an hour a day, whether it's 2 hours. Sometimes I could be up here coding for 3-4 hours, man, late into the night sometimes, because I can't sleep because of the ideas, right? And that's when it gets fun, right? When it's an actual project I'm putting together, it's just a beautiful thing, man. Coming together, this is literally one of the best skills I believe a person can learn in 2025, right? No matter how old you are, right? Just start learning from, look at this. This is literally freeCodeCamp. You can literally start learning right now, right? Putting these same concepts together, any language you want to learn, find something that interests you enough to spend the time to learn, right? And that's exactly what I did. Man. I like starting off with these type of things, these type of basic foundation bricks. To me initially, honestly, it was boring. I'm not gonna lie, right? I was learning like, okay, I can learn to add 1 + 1 or right, the operators. But then as I started to actually go further into it, I started to see that these same building blocks is what build the most complex applications, right? Once you start to learn functions and things like that, or different, how to build classes and methods and things like that, you're gonna see that exact same stuff repeat, man. And so that kind of gave me more interest, right? More interest to start to just learn the basics, right? Start learning the basics, start building out things. And that's been fun. Been a crazy journey, crazy journey, but it's been fun. So I'm gonna be on here a few more minutes here. I want to continue here. All right, so let's see here. Here we go. So your pyramid has disappeared again. That's okay. That is to be expected. Okay. All right. Now, before you create your new loop, you need to learn about the if statement. So we've learned about the for statement. We learned about the for of statement as well. Now we're learning about the if statements, which allows you to run a block of code only when a condition is met. All right. They use the following syntax. So you have for if, and then condition, and then the actual logic, right? What to do. So create an if statement with the Boolean true as the condition, all right? And then in the body, print the string condition is true. All right. So I wonder if it wants me to console.log. Let's just see. So if, then we're gonna go here, true, then the logic. And I'm gonna go console.log, and then here, condition is true. There it is. All right. All right. Okay, so now you'll see the string printed in the console because true is a fact true. All right. So change the condition of your if statement to be the Boolean false. So now you're gonna see nothing print. All right. False. Here it is. Nothing shows. All right. Because the statement is true. The condition is true. Right. So now the string is no longer printed because false is not true. Obviously, huh? All right. False is not true. What's happening? There we go. All right. But what about other values? So now try changing the condition to the string false. Okay. So a string actually returns a true statement. Okay. So let's continue. And we're just continuously solidifying what we have been learning, right? And we just kind of go over the basics, go back over those different things so we remember, lock in what we've been remembering. So when we're building our next website, our next software, or anything, mobile app, right? When we're building it with AI, something breaks, something doesn't look right, or anything, we could go back in. We know exactly what we'll be looking at. We'll know how to fix things, right? Or even if you don't, you'll know how to prompt AI to do exactly what you need. And that's exactly what we've been doing, right? AI is not only just the best coder, but it's been the best debugger, right? You can put your exact code in there, put the bug that you're facing. It's going to debug it, tell you exactly the line, things like that that's messed up, right? Which is crazy, man. It's really crazy. But it definitely pays for you to learn coding, right? on some regards, you definitely want to start learning. All right, so let's get back to it here. So the text has appeared again. That's perfect. So this is because false is a string which, when evaluated to a Boolean, becomes true. This means false is a truthy value. All right. So falsy value is the opposite. A value considered false when evaluated as a Boolean. JavaScript has a defined list of falsy values. Some of them include false, of course, 0, a blank string, null, undefined, and not a number. All right. So let's see here. So try changing your if condition to a empty string. All right. So let's take this out here. Right. All right, now we're continuing with the if. We're now going to get into else if statements, right? Else if, which I actually prefer, right? Instead of just the if or the I believe it's the if or else. It's one other one that I'm trying to think of. I can't even think of it now. We'll come back to it. All right, so the text is gone again. All right. Empty strings evaluate to false, making them a falsy value. All right. You will learn more about truthy and falsy values in future projects. So in addition to if statements, JavaScript also has else if. Else if statements allow you to check multiple conditions in a single block of code. All right. Now here's the syntax for an else or else if statement. All right. So you have if, and then the condition, do this basically, the actual logic. Then you'll have else if. All right. Then another condition, whatever that'll be, and then the logic basically for it to complete. And then you can go on with as many else ifs as you want. All right. All right. So now if the first condition is false, JavaScript will check the next condition in the chain. All right. Now if the second condition is false, JavaScript will check the third condition and so on. Below your if statement, add an else if statement that checks if 5 is less than 10. Then inside the body of the else if, log the string 5 is less than 10 to the console. All right. All right. So now we're gonna go else if what 5 is less than 10. So basically that prints true, right? They come out to either true or false, right? Whatever that condition is, it's going to come out to a true or false, a Boolean value, and then that's going to determine whether or not to run the logic, right? So console.log, and then we're going to go 5 is less than 10. So we know this is false, then it goes to the next logic. All right, the next statement. All right, let's continue. All right, sometimes you will want to run different code when all of the if or else if conditions are all false. All right, and you can do this by adding an else block, right? Basically your final block. All right, an else block will only evaluate if the conditions in the if and else if blocks are not met. All right. That's perfect. Let's see here. There we go. And this week I'm gonna be trying to do a different software. I'm gonna come up with some ideas for this week, something to build out, whether it's a website or a different software, basically to kind of to really just put together all the things we've been learning, right? Last week was really focused on APIs, basically integrating APIs into our first SaaS that we were building, or really our second main SaaS, but we were getting more complex, right? And then we added in a mobile application, things like that. But something, I don't know what happened, if I had a update or what, but all of a sudden my control panel for my database stopped connecting, right? I don't know what. I've changed the port, everything. It just will not connect now. So I'm gonna try to get that back up because I want to finish that project. All right, so let me see here. All right, so now we're gonna add the if or the else statement here. So add an else block to the else if. Inside the else block, log the statement. This is the else block. All right. Change the. All right. So now we're gonna change this out. Make this false, basically. And then we're gonna go else here. All right. So else, and then we don't need any parentheses because there's no condition. And then we're gonna go console.log, and we want to put this is the else block. And doing these challenges, I recommend really doing all of these types of challenges, right? Especially if you're learning like I am, right? If you're learning coding from scratch, I've learning this completely from scratch. Started with HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, and really just learning how they all work together, right? AI, of course, could come up with anything and everything pretty much, right? If you know how to prompt, right? If you're a prompt engineer, know how to write the right prompt, man, you could pretty much get AI to generate any type of website, any kind of mobile application, and using pretty much any framework, right? But if you don't know how these things work, right, you're just going to be looking at a bunch of code and you don't know how the building blocks come together, right? Which really is not a fun position to be in. I can tell you that from experience, right? When you're looking at those different things, right, and you don't know how they come together, man, you're like, damn, I kind of need to learn this stuff, right? I kind of need to see exactly what's going on, right? You have to, man. So let's see here, and this will be the last portion of the challenge, and then we'll move on here. All right, so now you have practice working with if, else if, and then else statements. All right, you can remove them from the code once you completed that. Use let to declare a continue loop. All right, so let's go ahead and remove these here. Let's remove these. Perfect. To the boolean false, then use let to declare a done variable and assign it to the value 0. So it doesn't tell me if I need to do that inside of this, or well, I'm guessing it's not inside. So let's go here. All right, let done. continue loop and false. All right, and then we're gonna go let done and just 0. You should not have an if statement, so it's telling me to get rid of all of these basically. Okay, no, I don't want to reset. There we go. All right. And doing these challenges, it's literally like little mental puzzles, right? Like a few of them, even once I finished, especially with the pyramid challenge, I still kind of didn't understand the logic, right? But we were still able to write it out perfectly. But doing these different exercises, they help solidify so much, man. They really do. Now on this, I see we're gonna start getting into the while loop, right? So we've gone through the for loop, right? The for of as well. We've done if statements, we've done else if statements, and then now we're starting with the while. Okay, so this is getting really, really good. So pretty much going through all those different main statements, keywords. Which, as if you notice, they're pretty much the same no matter the coding language, right? That's the crazy thing. I'm seeing there that they pretty much all stay the same main concepts, right? All right, so a while loop will run over and over until the condition specified is no longer true. All right. Which is pretty much what was that, the for statement as well? I mean, they pretty much all kind of are based on true or false statements. So it has the following syntax. So while, so the condition, and then the actual logic. Okay. So use that syntax to declare a while loop with continue loop as the condition. All right, the body should be empty. All right. So we'll go here while, and then the logic, continue loop. Continue loop. And then the logic body should be empty. There we go. All right, right now, if you change continue loop to true, your while loop will run forever. So we definitely don't want that. All right, so this is called an infinite loop. And I'm sure certain things where you would want an infinite loop, right? Like maybe an application running or something like that. You want that to continuously loop or continuously run, right? And you should be careful to avoid these, okay? So an infinite loop can lock up your system. We don't want that, requiring a full restart to escape. All right, so to avoid this, start by using the increment operator to increase the value of the done variable inside your loop. All right, so okay. So I'm gonna go done and then equals done. Would I do that on plus plus? Basically where it'll run forever. Or maybe just like this. There we go. So basically it's keeping that all inside of there. So this basically would run forever. It'll just keep on running. We don't want that. Well, actually it's not running since this value is false. So that's perfect. So it will not do that. Okay. All right, so let's continue here. It's used to check if two values are equal. All right. So to compare two values, you use a statement like value equals 8. All right. So below, done plus plus inside the loop, add an if statement. All right, the statement should check if done is equal to the count. Okay, let me see here. What? What? If done is equal to the count. How would you do that? Let's see. Would I add that? Okay, let's just do it this way. If, and then the condition here, right? Equal to the count. All right, let's see here. Your if statement should use the equality operator to compare done and count. All right, that's what I thought I did. And the condition. Oh, okay. What in the condition? Which would be up here. Right? Can you do that? Wow. And then if in here. Add an if statement inside your loop. I'm all jacked up. This will be the loop here, right? Yeah. What I'm thinking. Damn, I'm kind of fucked on that. Let me see. Your if statement. Let me just go from here. You should have an if statement in your loop. It should be added after done. What? Why is that? So done plus plus. And then here if where I would think it would have to iterate over it, or oh, look at that. So I would think this has to be inside, right? If this is, or if it's not, basically if it's not, then to increase. We'll see. So we basically just added a if statement with the condition. If this, basically if these are true, then it'll do the logic, I guess, as it's flowing, right? But it's set to false, so it won't even run. All right, so we're on 88 here. We'll pick these up here later. Definitely been fun. If you like these type of videos, be sure to like, subscribe to the channel. We are on here daily, whether it's learning something, doing challenges like this, or we are building out websites or different software. All right, as we are learning and building with AI. But definitely, guys, have a great Sunday. Been fun. And we'll see you in the next one. Be blessed.